Call this May meeting of the Park and Recreation Commission to order. Can we get roll call, please?
Yes. Eisner. Here. Key.
Here.
Kubal.
Here.
Morel.
Here.
Robertson. Robinson.
Here.
Rosner. And Rick DeGolia.
Yeah. Okay.
And then myself.
And welcome to you.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you. I'm very nervous, so just please bear with me.
Why don't we move to item 2, public comments? Are there any public comments? I don't think we have any members of the public here, and are there any online? No. If there are no online public comments, let's move on to approval of minutes. And from my understanding, we are going to, there's been some edits for the minutes for April, so we'll table that for this meeting, and then we'll take a look at them again for June.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So as soon as you have those new version of the minutes ready, just send them out to us, and then we'll take another look, and then we'll have them up for approval in our June meeting.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead, Walt.
And usually, Tony, those are sent out separately. They're not sent out with the package. They're sent out about 6 days early. Usually
Okay.
About Thursday the week before. That way, anybody has any comments, you can take those into consideration, and then what you attach to the agenda will be what we really know if you get them that early. But anyway, we need more time to look at those. Okay,
thank you, Walter.
sure.
Okay, no presentations this month, so let's move on to our regular agenda. 5A is to discuss the annual review to council. Is this, I guess the staff is the one who put this on the agenda, so is this for the annual presentation to the council?
Yes, Chair. As you know, the Park and Rec Committee usually goes before the council and gives a presentation of all the activities and accomplishments that have occurred over the past year. And so it's coming up to time to plan for the report in the July meeting at the council. And so typically the committee selects somebody, often the chair, to make the presentation before the council. This is an opportunity for the committee to discuss who's making the presentation and what that is going to cover.
Excuse me, are there 2 meetings in July or 1? I just wonder what the date would be.
It's the third Wednesday is the regular meeting.
If I'm not mistaken, both the chair and the vice chair are not necessarily going to be part of the committee because we're both up for renewal, I believe, but.
Well, then I encourage you to reapply.
Okay. I'm happy to do that report unless someone else wants to volunteer. Okay. Do I have a second? Okay. Okay, I will start working on that. I don't think a vote is necessary, so
Thank you.
I'll start working on that. Well, thank you. I may, let's see, maybe for the July meeting, I'll provide a copy for everyone. Okay,
A suggestion through the chair.
go ahead.
I'm sure you'll be coming up with a list. Staff is always happy to help. But if committee members want to send stuff to staff to make sure it gets incorporated, that way you'll have
Okay.
additional input.
So so since it's the third week of July, I'll probably plan to work on it starting end of June. So if you guys want to send to staff
Yeah.
any
And
remembrances of things over this past year that we should.
And we can keep this as a agenda item over the next couple of meetings. If you so desire to kind of this,
Review.
the different.
Nothing I like more than to have multiple reviews of a presentation.
I'm not saying for the presentation necessarily, but in terms of the things to discuss or present
For
to
the
the council
presentation?
for the presentation.
Sure, sure, we can have it. I'll. For the June meeting that we can work as an outline if you guys want to discuss that. Let's see, moving on to the next item is 5B, review of council decisions for HPP. So this is something I had asked to be put on the agenda just because the council had made a lot of decisions around the park, and I thought it would be good for the commission to be aware of those changes. If staff wants to go through them by one, that would be great.
Could I ask,
Go ahead.
what part of the park of the path is this DG path that?
Well, why don't I go through them and
Pardon me?
I'll go through them and we'll talk about them individually. So I know that you've all collectively and separately through the foundation have a lot of input, feedback given on the event garden. We're happy to report that at the May council meeting, the council awarded the contract to do the work to Brightview. And so right now they're in the planning stages. We still need to coordinate with Cassidy with regards to events around the pavilion to make sure that we can have it done in the least disruptive way that's possible to minimize impacts to events. Okay, and so we don't have an exact start date. I think Brightview is indicating that they'd like to start probably sometime in June. But again, we need to coordinate that with the event manager. The DG pathway is a replacement of the pathway from the pedestrian bridge along that frontage path down towards the entry and tying into the circulation project.
So to the entrance of the.
To the basically that length towards the entry. And so that project again was awarded and looking to start hopefully either the end of this month or beginning of June. That'll be less impactful to events. And then the children's play structure, as you know, has been deteriorated. The council authorized staff to order the parts and have the play structure repaired. So we've initiated the purchase orders for that. We're getting that done. And then we're working on the capital improvement program, which we're hoping to include a redo of the playgrounds.
So that will be repaired, but then we're also going to.
Yeah, because we don't want to, I would say, they get heavily used. And for a full replacement, it's a really interactive process.
Okay. So we still will be replacing.
So we are going to repair them now with the hopes of, through the capital, if it gets approved, to work forward on designing and replacing the structures. And then the other item that the council approved were the installation of electrical vehicle charging stations at the main lot near the exit drive and at the pavilion. 2 and 2.
Oh, there's actually.
I think it's 2 dual ports at each.
Because the press is reporting 8, that's why I asked.
Yeah, so 2 dual ports at each, so it's
Okay.
8
8 charging
chargers, but
stations.
4 units.
Pylon.
Okay.
Okay. For the event gardening and DG path, how long will those projects take? Like a couple months or a month?
The DG pathway should go fairly quick. To get started, it should be done in a month. The event garden is probably going to be a bit more considering that it's a bit more intrusive with the drainage improvements and redoing the entire irrigation, redoing the irrigation and all of the plantings.
Is there a date by which Brightview has to complete that?
Again, we haven't set on a start date yet because we need to coordinate with the events around the pavilion. So we don't have a complete, we haven't set the start and end dates yet because we need to have that coordination.
And Robert, where could we look at the actual specifications? We, as well as the foundation, spent some time looking at that, how well it was going to be done. And of course, the foundation is very sensitive because they pay a lot of money and now it's down the tube to some extent. So, and we made recommendations on, in addition to what had been proposed originally, particularly as to how it was prepared, how deep it would go, things like that. Where can we see the actual specs?
Let me let me dig that out and get it to you.
It was part of.
It was part of the presentation to the council.
report. I think it came to Park and Rec before, but it was the bright view proposal that came before the council and got approved.
Well, but see, we were unclear on what Brightview would. We went through this in some detail with Sally. And there was initial proposal from Brightview. And we recommended, particularly the foundation, some modifications, and we never heard back whether Brightview agreed or not.
I believe that we integrated those with the larger plants, et cetera, and I'm happy to share the updated proposal that we have.
Great, thank you.
But I'd say, look at the council.
In the agenda. it'll come
Yeah.
up. Great, thanks.
On the EV chargers, where are they going specifically? And I assume there's gonna have to be some infrastructure put in. Where's that going to be in the park?
You're not
Safe
plugged
as
in.
voice. There's two EV charging stations going in. One is going into what is the front parking lot, where the temporary building was. And that, separate from the circulation plan, that parking lot is being resurfaced and redone as part, in connection with the circulation plan. It's funded differently. But that one will go there, and it's essentially connecting to where the temporary power came in to the facility for the staff. And the other one is going into the parking lot where the pavilion is. As you face the pavilion, it would be to the left, sort of between the pavilion and the pathway that goes over to the tennis courts and the baseball diamond. And each of those locations would have two chargers, and each charger will have two connections. So it's a total of four charging ports for each of them. So 8 charging ports in the park.
But they don't need any specific, I know the Tesla superchargers have a whole set of infrastructure separately that is.
There's 3 kinds of chargers you can get. One is 120, one is essentially 240, and the other is the Tesla superchargers. These are all the 240.
They'll be similar to the ones that we have here.
Yeah, they're very simple. I think they're the same model.
Charge.
Well, whatever, the most updated model is what we have.
To understand right, that means that 8 parking spots cannot be used by anyone other than an electric vehicle.
No, these are electric vehicles preferred, so other people can use them.
Okay.
But it's not just taking up 8 parking spots. I think it's taking up 10 because 2 of them will be handicapped. They won't be exclusively handicapped. They'll be optionally handicapped, but it takes 2 parking spaces to put in the handicap infrastructure, whatever the space. Right.
And what month are we? July, June?
No idea.
No idea. Okay.
Robert.
Rachel's managing that. We just got the authorization at the May meeting. So I don't think it's been kicked off yet.
We'll just see them show up one day. And then the children's play structure, it will, for repairs, I assume it will be. taken
Let
off.
me respond to that. So the council authorized repairing, and that means replacing some of the structural components of that older children's play structure that's in the middle.
Yeah.
That's being done in, immediately. I mean, we'd like to have it done in time for the summer, but
Okay.
it's going to be done right away. And that's just a repair. We also authorized a number of things in our CIP budget for the future.
Okay.
And one of those is we authorized $200,000 for the next fiscal year, 23-24, to look at the whole children's play structure and evaluate what we want to do with it, because we think it needs to be upgraded. And we authorized $500,000 for the next fiscal year, and there was discussion about whether that was enough or whether it should be twice that. So staff is going to come back to us next month with some change. I don't know exactly what the change will be, but
The
But-
the
but the-
500K was for what?
to totally replace.
Oh, okay, okay.
And it could be a replacement of just the middle unit, which
Okay.
we know has to be replaced because it's damaged. And even though we're gonna fix it up for use over the next year, in the long run, we want a more modern piece of equipment.
Okay.
But it also, in looking at it, which we've authorized $200,000 to do a conceptual design for the whole play area, we may choose to also replace the toddlers units with more modern equipment.
Yeah.
And just do a total replacement.
Yeah, we had to remove a seesaw a couple. 2 or
Yeah,
3 years
we've had,
back.
I mean, these are older, these are 20-year-old pieces of equipment. They probably need to be replaced, but it's gonna take us a couple years to get there.
Okay, so
Did you
But
say
that's
that
been approved.
24, 25?
Just,
Correct.
just
You
a
gotta
correction.
understand, it's what's in the CIP budget for the next year that really counts, because that gets used. And what's projected in future years is a projection in future years, and it gets changed. It's a wish list, and we had some discussion about being more generous with that wish list than conservative, because we know it gets changed, and when you don't get things done in the current year, they get rolled over to the next year. And there's a couple other things that are in that CIP budget that you should be aware of. There's a couple projects related to Watkins, so it's not exactly in the park, but it impacts the park. And in the current fiscal year that we're in right now, there was money to look at upgrading the little pathway from Station Lane to the park entrance, which, there's that fairly high little square curb that if somebody's on a bike and they hit it, they have a problem, and a very rough asphalt path that's fairly narrow. That is before Bike and Ped, and it's due to come to the council next month, I believe, with a recommendation. So that study has been done, and there's money in the CIP in the next year to implement the recommended changes. Which I don't know what those recommendations are because it hadn't come to us, but that's in the process of being addressed. And I think that also includes the fence along
Yeah, that's part of this year's fiscal.
that's
year.
part of this year's budget, but that's to look at doing it, and it probably will get done next year.
Robert, you had something to say?
Oh, but my only comment is the council is currently looking at the CIP. It doesn't get adopted until they adopt the budget in June.
And then in the next year, we'd look at Watkins. We authorized, can't remember how much, $100,000 or $200,000 to look at Watkins from Station Lane to ECR. And whether there needs to be some pedestrian improvement, basically a sidewalk put in.
Yeah.
From,
Get the fire hydrants out of the way of the middle of the sidewalk.
yeah, so the cost of doing that would be in the future.
Okay.
The other thing that I don't think is in CIP, but which we've talked about before, and we just didn't have time to get to it tonight, was while we're doing the pathway from the pedestrian bridge to the driver's entry where the circulation project is going to impact it. we haven't yet funded doing the rest of the pathway, basically removing the asphalt and putting in DG or any particular portion of it, but that has been discussed in the past. So I would expect that that probably will be added to the CIP for the future, not this immediate year.
That would be the entire circle or go
Well,
asphalt,
and- or-
starting at the
It may,
pedestrian bridge, then headed around towards the
Yeah,
ball
it-
field.
that's, yeah.
And then all the way
Exactly
around.
what would be the priority is something I think Park and Rec, that it would be good for Park and Rec to weigh in on. And whether just replacing that asphalt pathway is a priority for you all should be something that you should discuss and council doesn't need to give you direction. on it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can give us
We,
suggestions. on it.
yeah, the last meeting, we did submit kind of our top four things that, and it's, I think is reflected in the minutes, but we didn't approve the minutes, but we will approve them next time. And they will then be part of the record about, I think one was fencing the tree, the
Yeah.
big oak tree. Can't remember the other three off the top. Well, actually, they're right here. They're in the minutes, so I can look it up.
Actually, we have a list here of kind of maintenance.
Yeah, yeah.
They're a big capital project.
Yeah, fence the oak tree, demo the play structure, or that's the council already is saying we're gonna repair that, so that's there. Convert the clay court to a hard court, since that's a big thing for the tennis players, that they need that to be there. And completing the event garden, which I guess is
Oh, are we moving to the next agenda item?
not, no, I was, not yet. I did have one more question, because you're right, it is the next, is it? Maintenance landscape list. One last question about the play structure. How long is it gonna be out of commission? So it's, right now it's still there, but it's gonna be removed, and so it'll be gone for like a couple weeks.
No, it's going to be repaired.
Just-
So.
So it's gonna be left in place and just.
Yeah, well, what they actually have to disassemble the entire structure because what's deteriorated are the columns and the beams. And so I think the order's been placed for those items. We're waiting for those things to be received. So, and we're already working with the installer, lining them up to basically, once we get the stuff, that they can get started.
like-
So as the council member mentioned, her desire is to get it functioning as quickly as we can.
Okay. But no specific. date.
I can't give you dates until I know that the parts are coming in.
Okay.
I think the bigger question is the duration of outage, whether it starts on.
It's already out. People aren't supposed to be on that structure now.
But it happens.
Yes.
I understand, but as far as we're concerned, it shouldn't be in use right now. So we're waiting for the parts have been ordered. We're waiting for them to come in so that we can get that work done.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this item before? Okay, let's move on to item 5C. 5C, yeah, landscape. That was.
I would suggest we go over this list, and there were some things we sort of looked at, but we didn't really deal with these, and I don't even think they should be on the list. To go to staff, that says, okay, staff, it's now in your ballpark. That's what this says.
Mhm.
And we really didn't get anywhere near that way. Like demolish the tennis practice court.
Yeah.
We didn't put that on there. That's all dependent on what happens with pickleball and what eventually happens. So I don't think that ought to go there at all. Remove the.
Well,
playground.
there's a thought to just demolish it because nobody finds it useful.
Well, they're occasionally,
Okay,
you
okay.
know, it doesn't hurt anything.
Yeah.
Kids
yeah.
like to hit balls against thing. I used to do it. Anyway, remove the playground.
I think they mean the playground structure.
Okay.
That's what it-
So through the chair, if you don't mind, I think that this is the feedback that was gathered from collectively through your walk. There are some things that staff can work on, stuff that council needs to provide direction on. and other things that are maybe wish list items. And so I will go ahead and say that as far as, let's say, the first item, that's redoing the event garden. The council has already approved that, so that's going to happen. Okay, I apologize.
Area other than what the council has done. Rick was
Okay.
there at the time. We all pointed out.
Okay.
This is on the west side of the event garden, which has almost nothing there.
Okay.
And that's what we talked about.
Okay, so I apologize.
Step in rehabilitating the event garden.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you for the clarification. And we can certainly look at,
Staff, I'm just asking the staff, what do you think is the best way to go through this list? Should we go through each item and have a consensus about, high importance, medium, low importance?
that would be helpful.
Okay. So why don't we go item by item?
So just to be clear,
Yeah.
the first item. So I think these things, some of these things need to be restated so they're clear.
Okay.
And the first item is the area, I think it's essentially outside of the event garden to the west, sort of toward the bathroom, right?
Okay.
It's that area that's kind of empty, or I don't know, maybe it's something, yeah, reimagine, that's good.
I mean, do we have a
Design.
design? Yeah, we don't.
No.
So,
I think this is conceptual design.
okay.
So low priority.
So it's really, so the issue is develop a conceptual design for the area just between the children's bathroom and the event garden.
I guess then the question is, we want staff to have a vendor work on the design or find a designer, or does the foundation want to think of how it wants to do a design?
Or should Brightview
Or Brightview?
be involved as they were? This is really just a second step. If we're going to prioritize that area probably could be put down in the middle, at which point we can have the possibility to, as a foundation, look at it, and Brightview look at it. I don't think this is on the number one hot list to go through tomorrow.
Okay.
I think if we're stuck in the middle somewhere, it was 2 or 3 months to beat this thing up a little bit, we could come up with something.
Okay.
I mean, it seems like it's sort of a combination of what sort of needs to be done soon, or we really want to be done soon. What are the what are the things that are sort of low hanging fruit, easy to do, like putting it in the city? What are the things that we, especially
Yeah.
in work?
And at some point, we will need to get costs. You want them, but only at a certain cost.
Yeah. Well, the design probably won't be too costly. It'll be the actual do it. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Okay. So I think consensus is the medium priority. Okay. Next item is the turning the pot upside down and plant in a pot. So this is this the Diana?
That's a Diana.
Okay. I don't think that would be HIPAA compliant. So I would say in terms of, if we could do it sooner, that'd be great, because it seems like a simple thing to do. So-
Well, I mean, I think we can probably deal with removing it. If you're planning to plant something in it, then it's going to need irrigation going into it. I need to think about whether or not that's something that we can just easily incorporate into what Brightview is going to do in the event garden.
Are we okay with? Okay, so removing the pot then is fine, and that will be high consensus. Fixing the fence behind the carriage house. This is the, okay, yeah, this is the fence you see along the walking path.
Yeah, I think that's for the,
The children.
goes into the
school.
play school. We have it on our to-do list.
That's definitely high. Demolish tennis practice wall. Oh, this will be interesting. Medium, low, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It might have been
Bill
years
Widmer
ago.
brought up at the council meeting that the foundation was looking at doing that.
Next item is the planting a tree where eucalyptus was removed, but, oh, that's already done.
Oh, good.
Well, at least, yeah, they did for our.
I think that was the Arbor Day.
But the tree's small, but.
It'll grow. Years.
A few, more than a few. Remove playground structure, so that is high and it's being worked on.
Well, I think it's being now, instead of being removed, it's being,
Repaired, yeah, repaired.
well, they're just taking it apart.
Has to be taken.
Yeah.
It'll take them a little bit.
Remediate.
It'll be fixed, so.
Is the reservation sign
Hmm.
down? Oh, you're
Oh.
talking about the 12 or more sign at the park, at the drive.
How often do you fix it? Can you put wires to hold it?
It was fixed recently.
So I think Tony's saying that it was recently repaired.
Yeah, I saw it was.
Are they gonna sag it down, just get rid of it?
So take it off the list.
Yeah, it's
This-
kind of
what,
on.
a reservation sign?
It's the
Drive-in
advice sign that they
bike
need a
sign.
permit. It's a permit required sign, basically.
12 or more people are required
It keeps
for a
sagging.
permit, if you have an event with 12 or more people, you need a
It's the
permit. That's what
picnic
it says.
sign. It's when you drive in along the entry
No, they
drive.
have it.
You have to
or-
drive in and see it on the.
It's a banner.
I know where it is.
Replace that banner with a wood sign that's, you know, a little more, I mean, it's never looked good to me, it's always looked sort of.
Do we need it?
If somebody's
We-
going to use-
I'm gonna say it's more because we've had, during the pandemic, there were a whole bunch of people just picnicking in the park without getting a required permit. And so basically it's a reminder to people that come into the park that a permit is required.
Going to be saying whether we have a pandemic or not, correct?
People are still looking. It seems like there's a practical reason to have it. And so if we need to have it, why don't we make a decent sign? It's just gonna.
So my suggestion is if you want to establish a subcommittee to mock something up, and then we can talk about it from there. My concern is that it's really how big a sign you're going to be talking about, because the banner is large. And if you make it too small, yeah, so I mean, if we're talking, I mean, there's other things that we can do. I just mentioned to Tony, maybe we can put some guy wire stakes
Yeah.
to physically keep it stretched out.
And how different?
Yeah, so I think we went through and removed a bunch based on the recommendations of the committee. And so do you really want to put more or bigger or whatever?
Can
And
we
so-
just remove the sign?
We've discussed over time, the problem of people coming in. You gotta have notice. I mean, how are we gonna have people enforce this? We need a notice, then we've gotta put some. We've talked about this as to who's gonna police it on the weekend, because that's the main time we have a problem. We don't have anybody in the park to do that. But we're gonna do it, and we're gonna have a rule. We gotta give notice, it seems to me.
Can't we just put a sign at the entrance?
Oh, I don't care where it is.
Okay, okay.
Sure, no.
Okay.
There shouldn't be a sign. We just think it should be tasteful, permanent, and not.
And consistent with the other signs.
Yeah, and consistent with the other signs. Okay.
But it sounds like it's fixed temporarily now. So
Right.
Yes, yeah.
let's just.
But-
So it's not, yeah. it's
But
not-
people don't like it.
No, but it's gonna be damaged again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Medium.
sign.
So
Not
I'm,
on
the
sign.
consensus is a medium type of thing, and maybe we'll revisit this in the future
Okay.
when we get angry
Get
about
on
it
this
again.
so good.
Well, another option would be to use it as an excuse to create a subcommittee to relook at signage. I mean, we've done this every couple years.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, but without masks.
Yeah,
Well, it
that's
doesn't-
not here.
It doesn't have to be someone on PNR. It could just be a very concerned Hawaiian citizen.
Around.
There were still some that could be, it's the entry and exit areas that to me are eyesores, because that's what people.
So just a reminder that the circulation project redoes the entry and exit drives. Some of the signage, yes, but the key things, we're putting in new pathways and things for pedestrians. So the entries and exits are going to look a lot different.
Yeah, and isn't that, how long before the entry and exit is?
That project's out to bid. So the bids should be coming in the next, I think we have the bid opening set for next week.
But I think
So
if you're gonna do a subcommittee to look at this, now's the time to do it. Because this is gonna take, this circulation job is gonna take 6 months of work. It's not gonna get done until late in the fall. And then signage is gonna change. So if you want input into that, you need to do it now.
the other thing that I need to mention is that as part of the circulation project, we have a couple of required signs to recognize the funders. And so with that subcommittee, staff will have somebody to talk to with regards to placement.
Yeah, so now's the time to get involved.
So we can put that on the next agenda to create that subcommittee.
Oh, that's right.
Well, I think the chair can appoint it.
Yeah, even though it's not on the agenda, so I will. Julie and Frank seem to be the most excited about tackling this, so I will appoint them as subcommittee members. Now we get to move on. The Soviet era planters, I take it that it's a high priority.
Removing it.
Putting in a truck and taking them away.
Well,
Like, what are we gonna do?
They don't need to be replaced. So we don't have to discuss that before.
So it's just remove them.
Yeah, just remove them, yeah.
I agree.
Okay. Clay court with hard court. Was that in, that's high priority? Was that in the CIP? Or,
I'm going to say that that is a bigger council discussion.
Definitely not CIP.
Yeah, but particularly, it's got to be deferred until we get through.
But
the
if,
pickleball issue.
yeah,
Sure.
I think it's likely to be a pickleball.
or even though it's closest to
No.
Felton Gable?
Well, it can be discussed, but it's a cost issue, so.
Yeah, okay,
The council's not gonna pay.
okay. So it's to be determined later. Replacing water fountain at tennis courts. Okay, who was,
It's repaired, but I think that I believe our plan is to replace it with one that has a bottle filler.
oh, I see. So it'll replace both the fountain part as well as it'll have a spout for, okay. And is that planned for this coming fiscal year?
I don't know, there's a,
I think we might have,
right, a different thing.
we should be able to accomplish it in the beginning of the fiscal year.
Okay.
Does it function now?
I don't think so.
No.
I'm going to say on and off, we've had some issues. Every time we fix it, something else happens.
Put in a fountain as part of the repair?
No, that's what I mean is that what we're planning to do is replace that fountain with one that has not just a drinking fountain, but a bottle. So that, the tennis people can fill those lovely bottles like like Patricia has in front of her.
Okay, next one is the Valley Oak fencing. I think that's probably high. Yep.
Yeah, that's in.
Okay. And then, replacing the playground bathrooms. That's probably not going to happen anytime. Unless council says it wants it soon.
Wasn't discussed.
Wasn't discussed, okay.
But I mean, I think you guys are setting your priorities, so
Yeah, what are you guys' thoughts?
What's the need? I mean, we talked about it when we were there in the function.
Yeah, they function.
they're closed a fair amount of the time. Yeah,
Okay. Oh, so you're talking about the repair of, not the actual buildings, but the repair of the plumbing system. Oh, everything. Okay. Just to make it look nicer too.
they look fun. Yeah,
Well, I think I mean, those thankfully, we haven't had any issue. We haven't had an issue with the well water recently. And so I think because we did some replacements of the pumps for the wells. So that all seems to be working okay. What we were looking at is the potential for putting in a jumper with a backflow to connect the potable to the toilets and stuff. There may have been, but I think, like I said, we haven't had issues recently. But I think if I recall, the discussion was a complete replacement of those bathrooms.
Yeah. I think before we do that, we probably need to design and to put.
Yeah,
together-
well, I'm gonna say that's a lot of these bigger ticket things are stuff that the council has to opine on.
Okay,
Because, I mean, we have some money for maintenance and repair at the park. But doing designs like, I mean, even of the playground, that's council's approving that one.
yeah,
If we wanted to replace these bathrooms, we're talking a lot of money.
okay. So it's low then until we get different direction. And then fixing the gates on the tennis courts.
And so is this just a chain link around the thing so people don't stick their hands through?
Just so people actually have to use a key.
Okay. I think that's it. Any other questions or comments? Not, let's move on to the next item. 5B. Prioritize projects, first up, pickleball. How the survey going?
A survey is out. People should have received a mailer to complete. I believe that they're due by the end of the month. It's available online and then so,
You haven't filled it out yet?
yeah.
I am.
So, I mean, and then once the survey results come in, the council will be talking about it.
Okay, great.
I believe it's going to be open till the end of May, George tells me.
That's correct.
And if you look at the Friday report where they tell us what's going on online, you'll see a click where you can go on that survey.
Perfect.
Great.
I mean, just to give you the high level report that we got at the council meeting, there's about 240 people that responded.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
And of them, 83% want to have pickleball in the park. And the most common desire for where to have it is to replace the clay court with a pickleball court.
Okay.
And of the 83%, that 83% for the whole survey, the vast majority of them are Atherton residents. And 78% of the Atherton residents wanted to have pickleball in the park. And that includes 30% of the respondents being key holders.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
But what number of key holders were proven pickleball?
well, if 3% of the respondents are key holders and there's 240 respondents, there's what, about 70
Well,
some
Okay,
key holders that have responded. And I'm not sure how many key holders there are. There might be 100.
well, George told me the numbers. And
Okay,
you're right on that, but of the 240, there's about 196 Atherton residents. Out of that, the vast number of proving were all pickleball holders. You ask a pickleball holder, a pickleball player, if you want to have this. So it's 196 Atherton. of that, when you get beyond the pickleball people who play pickleball, there's a very, very small number of people in favor of pickleball in this community. And insignificant compared to 2,200 houses and some 4,000 adults. I think any statistician would rip his or her hair out if they looked that we were making a decision on 196 people out of 7,200 or 4,200 adults, whatever they are.
Well,
You could also say that those people don't care.
and actually,
If
well,
people look
I
at it,
actually,
so-
I mean,
we-
I studied stats, and that's actually very incorrect, your statement. If you know our government, when we do polling for presidential elections, it's less than 2,000 people for a 330 million population. So that statistically, while your point may be valid that people have an interest in filling out a survey or not, you may have a point there, but as far as statistically, that's not accurate.
Well, why don't we wait
So-
until the results
Yeah,
come in?
Let's argue about this in June. When we get, yeah, quickly, Trish.
That you have the people identify. Kind of rough before you don't know who they are, you know, men, women, ages, you have to parse it along.
Okay, I know, but
We'll need to hire a statistical analysis
Yeah.
firm so we get the right buckets of every single way to crisscross the data.
that's a very amazing.
Being optimistic. There is some crossover so that there is
And there's
an
just,
incentive to work together to figure out a way to.
this is the town speaking. If the town wants to speak otherwise, however they want to speak, that's the important thing. And that's what we did this for. And we'll get more data at the end of the month.
Couple.
Maybe a month.
Just at 3 months. Oh, I just.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
But I'd say, I mean, I hear what you said, Walt, that most of them are pickleball players, which I think is true. I think if my recollection is 73% were said they played pickleball, or had some relationship to pickleball. But if 73% are that 73% of 240 is about 175. I mean, if they spend $1,000 each, they could replace the clay court. And that would probably be a good thing. I mean, I understand it's close to Felton Gables, so there could be a noise issue. We know there's always a potential noise problem here with this, but if, hey, if there's 175 people in Atherton who want to play pickleball and they want to redo that court's not really being used, that might be a really good thing.
It's also nothing to say that that court is turned into a hard court. It doesn't have to be a pickleball court and another one of the courts.
True, that's another plus. Right.
Yeah, although that
That's-
will be more expensive.
No, it'll be minor.
Oh,
That's
it's
just
just-
striping. It's just.
It's not a big deal to change one court into.
Oh, you mean you're not gonna make it permanent pickleball? It's gonna be a-
I mean,
If you're
change a
actually
hard
gonna
court into a
scrape off-
pickleball court, it's like
To actually paint it to be pickleball.
$500
You don't straight.
Why would we not take the?
because it's close to Felton Gables.
No.
But there, if you were to make, I mean, actually, let's just. wait.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we wait and see what the whole thing comes in because it could change.
So there is no other report on pickleball. other
Okay.
than that.
Brightview evaluation and review? Anything from the foundation that you guys want to?
I didn't know we were doing a review at this point.
No, it's, this is,
Update.
I've added this as chair, through the pleasure of the chair, I put up the prioritized projects so that we could talk to staff in case we have any questions and get an update. So if there's anything from staff about this,
I say general feedback that we've gotten is that people are pleased with Brightview's maintenance at the park. Haven't really heard too much. I mean, we have some issues here and there, stuck valves or stuff like that that get taken care of. But generally, we've heard positive feedback, folks.
yeah, and I'm only looking at you, Walt, because I know you're the one who asked for this to be on the prioritized list. So is there anything you wanted to?
Well, that's fine. I think I told either Robert or Tony that there are some dead, looks like dead trees. One of them is very near, if you know where the rock is that has the
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 Roscoe,
memorial, which is right near
the Roscoe
parking
Rock?
lot, right,
Okay.
Roscoe. There's three trees. One of them looks dead as a doornail, and the other two, one of them looks very strange. They've still got the water sack around them, but they're not, they're looking terribly. There's another one, a big.
You're,
bush.
you're talking about the three trees clustered together near the walkway. I think I know.
And,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
exactly. I think they're all. little-
Closer to the chief's house.
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, if you look right across that parking,
Yeah.
there they are. Yeah, and there's another one I'm gonna send as well. So I don't know whether that's a Bright View issue or something else. We obviously-
We can have our arborist.
Okay, I guess if there's nothing else on number two, we'll move on to number three, the circulation project.
Yeah, so like I said, that project's currently out to bid.
Okay.
And so we'll be bringing it to the council to hopefully to award the contract in June.
First meeting in June or their second meeting in June?
Hmm.
Because the bids are coming in mid-May, I think.
Yeah, but unless, say I'll have to talk to George about how that fits because the study sessions are pretty full these days.
Okay. No, they have two meetings a month, council?
Oh,
No, 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 no. Yeah, council usually has two meetings a month, so. Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to six. No discussion items, okay. Seven, foundation report, Frank.
Yeah, let me say a couple things about the foundation report. First of all, we spent quite a bit of time talking about the presentation that's going to be made on September 24th for the centennial. As you probably know, there are going to be a number of tables there, and one of them will be for the park. So we were asked, or Rick contacted Frank and me about that. We've raised this with the foundation, and two of our members, Frank being one, are on a subcommittee that are going to deal with that. Just so you understand, there are tables, I assume they're 6-foot tables, that will be around here, and they will do both neighborhoods represented, history of the neighborhood and that sort of thing. And then there will be also by things like the library and the park. So this is our chance to tell people about the park, and there'll be some incentive for people to actually come to our table, believe it or not, because they need a stamp from our table that says they came there. And they will then have, for the first 100 people, an oak tree that they may get, a 15-gallon oak tree. So it's important, I think, for us to kind of think about how we're going to do that. Foundation is taking the lead on this, but we obviously like input from anybody else. So that's September 24. We do need help to man that table. So any of you that can be there, it's going to be, I think Rick can correct me, maybe 11 to 3 is the time. So we need one or two people there to kind of answer questions, explain about it. It is astonishing how many people do not know anything about this park. And so it fits with Noah's comment, I think, that the people are interested, say something about it, others don't until it comes up. So anyway, we then moved on to talk about pickleball. And let me give you some comments that we made on that. One, this pickleball would be not only close to neighbors, it would be very close to tennis players. One or two of which commented that they would not like that noise right next to them on an adjoining court. But others raised an interesting point, and that is this would be very close to other things. Be very close, for instance, to the event garden. Not that far away. Anybody that's seen pickleball will hear there's a lot of noise that could be heard in the event garden. Event garden is what raises the money to a large extent in those houses and outside, in the buildings outside. So I think we need to figure that out as to what effect would it be there. How about the schools? Anybody talk to the school about what that noise would be like for the kids there? I'm not sure we really looked at all aspects, at least that was the thrust of the foundation. So in any case, I think there was quite a bit of concern. There was also concern that people don't even know the survey exists, let alone having filled it out. I didn't get one of those cards, I don't think, that Julie has, but certainly hasn't raised anybody's attention. So anyway, that was kind of the main thrust of what we talked about.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Not, we'll move on to 7B. Park going on with this.
Well, you have the park report that was prepared for last month. If you have any questions.
Nope. Any questions or comments? Okay, if not, we can move on to 7C, park
Yeah.
events.
You have the list of events in the staff report in
And
the
7B?
package as well.
Oh, no, sorry, 7.
I think it's a little out of, well, it's out of order in my package, but in any event, you have the list of coming events.
Any questions or comments? None? Okay, we'll move to 7D. Any individual committee member comments? Seeing none, we can set the next date for our meeting on June. It'll be the 7th. It'll be hybrid, so it'll be partly here. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Okay, all in favor? Only an hour.
That's great. Wow.
Wow, that's off. Well, no, actually, we started a little late, so you're